Welcome to the Ordinary Guy Garage. I'm Scott, just an ordinary guy. And today we're going to build a 8.8 rear end for the S10. So hang on. All right, so for the S10 here, we're going to put an 8.8 rear end in it, rear axle. It's the best rear axle to put in there on a budget, I guess. I've had one in my S10 for years, and I've never had any issues with it. And I've been lately, past couple of years, I've been putting a little bit extra power to it, and it holds up just fine. So the thing about the 8.8 rear end is you got to get them out of an Explorer, because the Explorer has a 31 spline axles and it has the locker. Well, it's not a locker, it's a limited slip. So, but the thing is it's a little bit too wide for the S10, and the third member is offset. So what you do is you take the long side and you cut 2 7/8 of an inch out of it, and weld it back together, and then you could use 2 short side axles, and now you have a 56-inch rear end, which will fit pretty good inside the S10 with like a 5.5 inch backspace. So that's what we're gonna work on today. So here we go. Here is the rear end. This is a 8.8 out of a Ford Explorer. Now you can tell when you're looking for these, right on the tab right here, it's upside down, but you see there's a 3, you can barely see in there, L73. So that is the limited slip 373 gear. That's what you're looking for on the tab. These are the 31 spline axle disc brake. This is pretty much how you would get one from a junkyard. They probably wouldn't have the leaves on it. We bought a parts truck, so we just cut it out. But what I'm going to do today is I'm going to cut off all of this extra stuff, all the old brackets and everything, get it down to a bare rear end, and then I'm going to shorten actually 2 7/8, 3 inches, right in that range, out of the, what would that be, the driver's side. So that way it centers up the pumpkin, and it also gets it just right for an S10. Okay, got all the brackets cut off, the old spring perch and then the sway bar brackets. Those are all gone. I also pulled off, well actually the first thing I did was I took off the brakes, the calipers, and then I got these, then I took the brackets off. That way the brake lines weren't in the way. So it's all ready to start the next step here. I got to get the cover off, the differential out of it, axles out of it, and all the stuff on the ends here, the backing plates and all that have to come off so we can cut it, so we can go ahead and cut it down. So go ahead and do that. And I think what I'll do is I'll go ahead and pull this off and just let it drain overnight. It doesn't need to drain that long, but I'm about at the end of the day here, so that'll work. An S spring in it that holds the tension on the 2 side gears that are onto the clutch plates right here. So there's clutch plates on this side, clutch plates on, inside of here, in the same spot just across there. S spring that holds them together, and that's about it. That's about it to it. It's not anything fancy, but this is what you're looking for. This is the limited slip 8.8. All right, got the housing stripped down, got the differential out of it, and looking at it, the gears are in really nice shape. They're meshed really well. There's no chips, it just looks like normal wear, so we're really good on that. Also saved the spring perches. No, these aren't spring perches, but these are the brackets that hold the U-bolts on. I can't remember what they're called. But we're saving all that because we're going to reuse that. Here's the backing plates off of the rear end, and this also holds the disc brake as well. So now over here, excuse me, I have the housing ready to go. Got it cleaned up pretty much. I left the pinion in there because there's no need to take it out because I'm reusing those gears and no need to take it out. So I have it set up here. It's a bit of a deal here. Let me set up the camera and I can go over it. All right, I'm just about ready to start cutting this up. Now, what I had to do because of the flange here on the outside, you can't just set it in the chop saw because that'll mess up the height of it. So I have a spacer underneath it and another one behind it to hold it where it needs to go. I double checked the 0 on here because, you know, it's got a little gauge on there that says 0, you know, and or 90 degrees or whatever. And, you know, that isn't always accurate. So I double checked it against the blade, against that. So we're perfect there. I also had to set the chop saw up on a couple pieces of 2x6. So that way the third member wasn't rocking back here. And then I did all the same over here to this side to bring it up right there. The other thing I did over here, I don't know if you can see it, but I have a level, little torpedo level on the flat part of the differential right here to make sure that I'm straight this way. And then I also have it propped up in the front here, I guess you could right in there, to keep it that way. Now, what I'm gonna do on this, and this is what I did on the other rear end, the one that's in my S10, I'm taking 2 7/8 inches out of the driver's side. So what I did was, when I cut it, and this is where an overthinker really comes in handy, or being an overthinker, because what I want is this weld right here that I'm gonna be putting in it, because this section's going away, so then this part is gonna be welded to that. I want that weld to be right in between the U-bolts for the when I put it in the S10, because that way the spring perch, when I put it in and weld the spring perch, it just gives it a little bit extra support. You know, like I've stated many times before, I'm more of a grinder than a welder, so anything I could do to make it a little better, I'm gonna try. So what I did was, that is 11 inches over. I can't really see, but it's 11 inches. I measured from here to there is 11 inches, which puts it pretty much in the center right there. So, and then I measured from there 2 7/8 over from there, because that's what we're gonna cut out of it. And I have it set up, so what we're gonna do when we cut, I have my line here, right here, and when I bring the blade down, I'm gonna cut to the inside of that line, and then I'm gonna cut to the inside of the line over here. So I'm gonna cut inside right here on that side, and inside right there. So that way, that 1/8 inch, because if you don't take this into account, you could take your 2 7/8 and add a 1/4 inch to it, and you don't wanna do that. So the other thing I'm doing here is I'm cutting the small piece off first, and then we go back to cut this piece, because otherwise if you cut this piece first, then you're stuck with this little piece that's kind of got different weird angles to it, and it might be harder to get it to set up. This here, I can keep everything just like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut this, and then we'll check back in. All right, well, I guess I should mention on this here, I mean, I have the tape on there so it'll help me realign it, because what I want to make sure is that this is clocked correctly with the other one and the third member of the center and all that. So what I did was I put a line, and it went through the cut, and then on the other side I did another line that went through, yeah, right there. So the one on the top, I put a couple of hash marks through it on both sides, so that way, you know, it's just another foolproof way for me. I know that way it lines up. So, you know, the old saying of measure measure twice and cut once. Oh my gosh, man, I measure, I don't know how many times and double check. I've seen guys do this with just an angle grinder, and I've seen guys do it with the bandsaw. I've seen it, you know, all different ways. I've done it with the chop saw on my other one, and I'm doing it with chop saw on this one because it works for me. This is the way that I like to do it. The next step for me is I got to bevel this edge here, and then also on the housing itself over here. Bevel those two so I could weld them back together. I got to pick up a couple pieces of 3-inch channel to bolt it down, you know, to help get everything lined up. So I'm going to go do that. But first, my mother called, and I'm going to go hang out with her for a little bit. So if you have an 83-year-old mother that calls you, you answer the phone. So I'm going to go have some fun with her for a little bit, and when I come back, we'll be working on this again. Well, I had a pretty good time with my mom. It was yesterday. We took the dog to the vet and then went out and got some lunch, and it was a good time. You know, I feel like I'm fortunate. You know, I still have my mother around. Lost my dad about coming up on 5 years ago. You know, think about him all the time. In fact, a lot of what I do in here is because of him. You know, he wasn't a car guy, but he would fix anything, and you know, I'm grateful for that. So if your mom or dad calls you, answer the phone. Go hang out with them, because someday they won't be calling anymore. So anyways, all right, back on this. So I actually had the angle outside in my stock rack over there. So not angle, the channel. So this is 3-inch channel. I cut 2 pieces about 12 inches long. Got a clamp on here. I went ahead and beveled the edges on these here. So now I'm just ready to start putting it together. Now I got my line that I put on there. The tape's gone, you know, so, but I have that line, so that's a great way to mark it up. Here comes the cat. Nope, he's not coming up here. So get him in here, clamp it down with a couple of, oh, here he comes. Clamp it up. Then I use a straight edge on here. You know, this isn't perfectly accurate, you know, but it's close enough for government work, as Dad used to say. So anyways, let's get this clamped up. You know, and a big part of this clamping is not only holding it in place while you weld it, it's also keeping it from moving around. So what I'm gonna do here is I'll put a little bit here, a little bit of a weld here, a little bit of weld on the other side, and I might spin the clamp and do it again. So let me get going on that. All right, got it all welded up. You can see I have my little tack there. There's another one over there. Welds came out pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. I'll go ahead and run back over it with a grinding wheel, just because that's my style. I think next what I'll do is I'm going to clean these up, and I'm going to go ahead and put some weld right in there too on both sides. Okay, so I got those done. Got the axle tubes welded in. Came out pretty good, not bad for a grinder, not a welder. Both sides over here. Now the reason for doing that is these axle tubes are press fit into the third member, which is cast steel. That way you can MIG weld it. It's not cast iron, cast steel. And then they plug weld it, or stick plugs in it or whatever. I'm not exactly sure how they do it, but there's one on that side, and then there's one up here and one there. So it has 3 plugs in there holding it, and they can come loose. So welding these two together is a good idea. But yeah, that's it. That's all the welding. Well, I mean, I guess I still got to do the saddles, but for right now, that is that. All right, well, I think me and the kitty here are gonna wrap it up right there for now. I'll do another video when I put the rear end back together. I gotta wait for the axles to come back from the machine shop. Not a big deal. Hopefully today or tomorrow I'll go get those and get all that put back together. But that's gonna be it for that. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please give me a like and comment and subscribe if you haven't. And hey, you can even share this to somebody, with somebody if you want to. I wouldn't be upset. But anyways, thanks a lot. I'll see you next time.